In the bustling city, there was a small, unassuming hair salon tucked away in a quiet alley. The salon was called Beauty's Paradise, and it was owned by a woman named Miss Georgina. Miss Georgina was a skilled hairdresser, known for her attention to detail and her ability to create stunning hairstyles that left her clients looking and feeling like royalty. Many of the women loved patronizing her because her hairstyles were always amazing and unique. Other hairdressers in the village gradually began to lose customers. Many closed down their stalls while a few others hanged on, hoping for a change. This continued, and one day, the villagers began to notice something strange in many homes. Many women began to be disrespectful to their husbands, and almost all of them cared less about their homes. Some of the ladies too who were unmarried began to get irritated with the young men in the village. Those who were already engaged were always fighting and quarreling with their partners. This became a great concern in the whole of the village, especially the men and few of those that were not affected. A meeting was held by the leaders in the village to proffer solution. After the meeting, they agreed to invite a well-known native doctor to come and perform some rituals on their women. It was done as they agreed on, but even after that, it seemed to get worse. The only thing that the women only cared about was how to get money and make their hair at Miss Georgina's shop. Some would even go there in the morning and stay till nighttime, doing absolutely nothing. One day, Sophia, a young, powerful and ambitious journalist, had just moved into the city from a small town in the countryside. She was eager to make a name for herself in the city, and she saw her new job at a local newspaper as the perfect opportunity. One day, while working on a story, Sophia stumbled upon a lead about a mysterious hairdresser who was rumored to have a special gift. Intrigued, Sophia decided to investigate further and made an appointment at Beauty's Paradise. As she sat in the salon chair, Sophia couldn't help but notice the strange, almost hypnotic way that Miss Georgina worked. Her hands moved with a precision and speed that was almost supernatural, and her eyes seemed to bore into Sophia's very soul. Despite her initial reservations, Sophia found herself feeling strangely at ease in Miss Georgina's presence. She began to open up to the hairdresser, sharing secrets and fears that she had never revealed to anyone before. As the days turned into weeks, Sophia found herself returning to Beauty's Paradise again and again. She couldn't explain why, but she felt drawn to Miss Adesawa in a way that she couldn't understand. But as Sophia's visits to the salon became more frequent, she began to notice strange occurrences around her. Her colleagues at the newspaper would make strange comments, telling her that she was becoming rude and abusive. And Sophia's own memories began to feel foggy, as if someone or something was manipulating her thoughts. Determined to get to the bottom of things, Sophia started to investigate Miss Georgina's past. But every lead she followed seemed to end in a dead end, and Sophia began to suspect that the hairdresser was hiding something. As Sophia's search for the truth continued, she found herself becoming more and more entangled in Miss Georgina's web of secrets. And she began to realize that the hairdresser's gift was not just a simple talent, but something much darker and more sinister. But what was Miss Georgina's secret? And how far would Sophia go to uncover the truth? As Sophia dug deeper, she began to notice strange symbols etched into the walls of the salon. They seemed to pulse with a malevolent energy, and Sophia couldn't shake the feeling that they were watching her. One night, Sophia decided to sneak back into the salon and investigate further. She crept through the empty streets, her heart pounding in her chest, and slipped into the salon through a side door. The symbols on the walls seemed to glow with an eerie light, and she could feel a strange, pulsating energy emanating from them. She began to suspect that Miss Georgina was involved in some kind of dark magic, and that the symbols were a key part of her rituals. As Sophia explored the salon, she stumbled upon a hidden room deep in the basement. The room was filled with strange artifacts and relics, and Sophia could feel a powerful, malevolent energy emanating from them. Suddenly, she heard a voice behind her. "Welcome, Sophia," Miss Georgina said, her voice dripping with malice. "I've been expecting you." Sophia spun around, her heart racing with fear. Miss Georgina was standing in the doorway, her eyes glowing with an otherworldly energy. "What's going on, Miss Georgina?" Sophia demanded, trying to keep her voice steady. "What kind of dark magic are you involved in?" Miss Georgina smiled, her lips curling up into a cruel smile. "You'll find out soon enough, Sophia," she said. "But for now, let's just say that I've been waiting for someone like you. Someone with a certain potential." Sophia's eyes widened as Miss Georgina began to chant, her voice rising and falling in a hypnotic rhythm. The symbols on the walls began to glow with an intense, pulsating energy, and Sophia felt herself being drawn into a dark, twisted world of magic and deception. As the ritual reached its climax, Sophia felt her mind being torn apart, her thoughts and memories fragmenting into 1,000 different pieces. She was trapped in a living nightmare, and she didn't know if she would ever escape. And then, just as suddenly as it had begun, everything went black. Sophia collapsed to the floor, her mind reeling with the implications of what she had just witnessed. It was morning and Sophia found herself lying in her own bed, her head pounding with a fierce headache. She had no memory of how she had gotten there, or what had happened after she had collapsed in the salon. But as she sat up and looked around, Sophia realized that something was terribly wrong. Her room was in disarray, her clothes and belongings scattered all over the floor. And on her mirror, someone had scrawled a message in red lipstick, "Stay away from something that could kill you, Sophia." Her heart was racing as she stared at the message on her mirror. She knew that she had to get out of there, to get as far away from Miss Georgina and her dark magic as possible. She quickly grabbed her bag and ran out of her apartment, not stopping until she was safely on the streets. She hailed a taxi and gave the driver an address, telling him to take her to the one place where she knew she would be safe. As the taxi drove through the crowded streets, Sophia couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. She kept looking over her shoulder, expecting to see Miss Georgina or one of her minions following her. But she saw nothing, and eventually the taxi pulled up in front of a small, unassuming building. Sophia paid the driver and got out, looking up at the building with a sense of relief. It was the office of her friend and colleague, Detective James. Sophia had worked with James on several stories, and she knew that he was one of the few people who could help her now. She ran inside and burst into James' office, slamming the door shut behind her. James looked up from his desk, a look of surprise on his face. "Sophia, what's wrong?" he asked, standing up and coming over to her. Sophia took a deep breath and tried to calm down, telling James everything that had happened since she had started investigating Miss Georgina. James listened intently, his expression growing more and more serious. When Sophia finished, James nodded thoughtfully. "I believe you," he said. "I've heard rumors about Miss Georgina and her salon. I didn't think much of it at the time. But now I'm not so sure." Sophia felt a surge of relief. She had been afraid that James wouldn't believe her, that he would think she was crazy. "What can we do?" Sophia asked, feeling a sense of determination. James smiled grimly. "We can start by investigating Miss Georgina and her salon. I have some contacts in the police department who might be able to help us." Sophia nodded, feeling a sense of hope. She knew that it wouldn't be easy, but she was determined to expose Miss Georgina and her dark magic. Together, Sophia and James set out to uncover the truth, following a trail of clues that led them deeper and deeper into the heart of darkness. They discovered a pot in the salon which contained Miss Georgina's powers. One night, They both sneak into the salon and was once again faced by Miss Georgina, who was ready to take their lives. She focused on Sophia, determined to squeeze the life out of her with her magical powers, and while at it, James rushed at the evil pot and broke it. Miss Georgina screamed, falling to the ground as she felt her powers leaving her. Sophia and James felt relieved and they kept her there until morning. They alerted the villagers, narrating what happened to them. Miss Georgina also confessed that she was bitter for not getting married, and for that she decided to scatter every home and make most ladies single for the rest of their lives. The whole villagers were shocked to hear that, and after that, they banished Miss Georgina from the village, telling her never to return again. She left in shame and the women all returned to their senses, apologizing for what happened. Sophia and James were handsomely rewarded for what they did, and they were both happy with a sense of accomplishment.